Hello and welcome to my show, Could You Be More Specific? I'm your host, Jonathan Steele, coming to you through the Way of the Stay Woke podcast. And on this episode of Could You Be More Specific, I want to talk about love and treatment. Now, one of the things that kind of stood out to me earlier this week that was a storyline was the post that LeBron James made in regards to black women. So I wanted to kind of follow up on that. And then I'm also going to just pick up on the issues still going on with the national anthem protests in the NFL since the season's upcoming, but also with another rally that is about ready to happen. But I'm going to start first with LeBron. Now, I know he kind of caught some flack on social media because he had made a post statement talking about his love of black women and just respecting women of color in general. And like all things, that's going to become a controversial take. So that led to him saying, why can't he can't say he's pro women, but then he isolates and mentions black women and just women of color. Well, but the thing that I took from that is a lot of times is that whenever you say proudly that you love someone or you have love for a particular group of people, that's somehow always viewed as hatred then for everyone else, which is still kind of odd to me. It's almost like if someone, no one would ever question someone who was Irish telling their Irish mother or grandmother that they loved them. That's not anti-England. It just means you love your Irish grandmother or mother. It's the same thing. LeBron, like a lot of black men, can love the black women in their lives. It doesn't mean that they automatically then hate other races of women. It just means that these are the people that are in their lives. And I know we've kind of talked about this issue before, and it seems like that is often happening a lot, especially with black people. And it is designed to kind of keep us kind of at odds with each other. And we've seen that now happen over the course of weeks with, LeBron, and Donald Trump wasn't, inserting Michael Jordan in that argument by accident. It was to create an argument for black people to now start fighting amongst each other between LeBron and Michael. And it's the same thing here. It's to get a prominent black man whose wife happens to be black. He has black children, a black mother. Hey, we know that black, you don't got to promote that. And, when you hear that kind of stuff, it's like, really? Well, you're all up for, promoting other stuff that is detrimental towards black women. We'll do that all day. We can promote any negative stereotype. I feel like this, if Love and Hip Hop can exist for what it is, as a scripted reality show that depicts black women oftentimes in heightened situations that in some cases can be true, but in a lot of cases it's not. If I have to accept that's a part of the reality of what our society's at, then you have to accept the fact that there's women who look like them who are not behaving that way and need to be highlighted and they need to be appreciated. I don't understand why when it comes to black women, a lot of times and showing love and appreciation for them, we have these issues. And that's what ended up happening with the whole Slim Thug, Russell Wilson, Ciara thing. And I've listened to multiple videos on that, on people's insights, pro and against it. And in the end, it's really about, are you in a situation that's better for you? And if you are, and you feel confident enough to talk about it, then you should feel good enough about talking about it. No one's attacking, and rightfully so, Denzel Washington when he says great things about his wife, nor should they. Should he not be able to say that about her? Because it'll offend certain people. Now, granted, Denzel's not on social media, but, it always seems like whenever we see prominent, successful black men and they highlight or mention black women in a complimentary way, that becomes like, hey, well, we can't do that. But it seems like we co-sign all the time when we put black women down. We'll do that in a heartbeat. And I just think it should be a balance. It should be a balance on this type of stuff. And I like the fact that he kind of stood tall in what he said. I haven't seen any posts or anything acknowledging the nonsense beyond that. It's almost to a point where if you're going to say certain statements, you should just post it and turn comments off. It's really hit that kind of messaging now. And I think people forget how it seems big. Social media seems big because of the amount of likes. And so it kind of creates this argument. Oh, we have all these different, accounts of people that are upset or happy about whatever. And it's still a small percentage of people. It's a lot of people that still don't use Twitter. A lot of people still don't use Instagram. It is a segment of the population. It's another form of free advertising. But that's something that I continue to follow and watch, and that's why I think the whole Russell Wilson Slim Thug thing to me was so fascinating, especially on the end from people saying like if you're a clean cut black guy versus a street black guy, how can a girl be into two different things? It's the same reason why that would be dumb to say, hey, well, if you're a light skinned black girl, why would you be attracted to a light skinned black guy? That doesn't make any sense. Attraction is a pretty open spectrum. It's it doesn't make any sense. If you're a girl and you happen to be of dark skin, it's not out of the realm of possibility that you would find Morris Chestnut and Shamar more attractive. It's not changing. So, those are just some of the things that I've kind of noticed throughout the week with some of the things that have been talked about overall in regards to that topic. So I'll probably definitely want to follow up and pick up on that at some point. I want to go ahead and transition to, I know the recent preseason games that have been going on for the NFL and a couple of the Miami Dolphins players who protested. One of the players has been outspoken in steals and pretty much who's a wide receiver for the Dolphins and saying that, Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reid are being blackballed. And now we got, some members of the police union boycotting the Dolphins games and that they shouldn't work them. And I guess one of the things that's kind of fascinating about that is that you can't pick and choose when you want to be a professional all the time. Sometimes you just got to do your job. And there's going to be a march, I believe, for the KKK in DC. And as American citizens, whether or not I agree with them or not, they have a right to protest whatever it is they want to protest in a civil discourse of matter, so to speak. One of the most famous photos of Charlottesville last year when they were promoting that march, which led to someone unfortunately passing away, or should I say dying, was a photo of a black officer in front of a white man with an armed gun. And no one's saying like, hey, we should take that man's guns away. They're saying like, hey, he's an American citizen. He's a private citizen. His gun is safely in his possession. He has a right to march and protest. Okay. A little more far-fetched than someone walking around with a sign in the street, but okay. You have an automatic rifle or gun or whatever type gun you want to walk around and you want to protest you hate certain people. Okay, that's fine. But if you're the police and you can protect them and their rights, you can protect the fact that, players of color know that the flag does not represent them. It doesn't. This country wasn't built for black people. And that's fine. It really is fine. A lot of us don't even argue that point. It's just when you get to the point where, well, because it bothers me, then this should be a problem for you. Well, I mean, it's never been that way for us. How many more people you got to see get killed on video for you to want to change the laws? How many attorney generals are leading that? How many governors are leading that? We still have police officers still hurting civilians at will. But an NFL player raising a fist or taking a knee, find another way to protest. That's what the president said about Malcolm Jenkins. Find another way to protest. But when it came to Charlottesville last year, you had things happening on many sides. It's complex. Well, then this is complex because you don't have videos of black people murdering white people. Just like in slavery, when black people had that small period of time of freedom for that, I believe that 10-year period, black people weren't attacking white people. They went on about their lives. A lot of them didn't even know how to function because they had been so desensitized and programmed from slavery, because that's what institutionalized racism does to them. A lot of them didn't even know how to function without being in that environment, because it was as demented and twisted as it is, it was still constructive. A lot of black people just decided to go on their own way. And that's oftentimes what a lot of black people do now. They end up doing their own thing. They don't really I heard Dr. Umar Johnson say this, and I understand why he said what he said, but I disagree in some fashions when he said that, black people loving white people. And I understand why he said that, because there is a certain level of truth in that, because you haven't really seen a group of people who was taken captive still live in the country that they're still somewhat have been held in captivity of. But I think it's also an element to black people overall is that we function just fine, period, with or without something. And for a lot of people, some people do that better than others, but when it comes to our culture and our people, a lot of times we do that really well. We're able to function and not be in a mind state where we're necessarily paranoid all the time. And I think that's what a lot of white people don't understand. Most black people don't fake racism. Most don't. Have there been cases where that probably has happened? Yeah, it probably has. But if all things are created equal, would somebody black prefer not to be bothered throughout a day? Absolutely. When it comes to racism, because it's out of your control, it's out of your hands. A lot of times, if you're white and you look in a room and you see only one black person in that room, you need to really evaluate, like, man, I got to change up this room, because you're not going to get an honest answer from that one person who's diverse. It's like a group of guys having one woman on the team, and you ask her, hey, do you think this? It's like, come on, man, you got to use common sense. You know what that is. But it's funny that we can sometimes handle this for other topics, but yet when it comes to, say, something that is really going to affect a class of people, it's this hesitation. It's like, it's this fear. And it's similar to affirmative action, where it's like, it just offsets racist policies. That's what people still don't understand about that. It's like, if all things were even, that's what it does. It just offsets that. It's not giving you an extra leg up. You know how many resources, how many generations black people are behind in comparison to a white counterpart? At least 3. I can become a multi-billionaire right now, and I still wouldn't be able to catch my family, my future family, up to par like that. Because that takes time. And decades upon decades upon decades upon decades. So I know I kind of veered off about that overall with the anthem overall, but I think it's just a part of the larger scope of the problem. And I know the NFL kind of makes it a little bit easier to digest. And I know it's still a lot of people that are probably mixed on supporting the NFL this year. And I understand why, because the players are pretty much, of any player union and of any rep, they have the weakest representation. They literally do. They can't even get on the same page a lot of times with their own rules and their own practices that they want to operate on. So how are they going to handle an issue like this? But those are just some of the things I kind of wanted to touch on. I want to thank you guys for listening to this pod. Definitely continue to follow us. I want to thank D for all his support. Definitely like, share, and follow this pod. Support us, become a patron. Again, my name is Jonathan Steele. Thank you for listening to Could You Be More Specific? I got more of these coming in the future. I hope you guys have a great week and stay safe.